Welcome to M&A Minute by Finch Brands. I'm Bill Gullen, president of Finch Brands. We're a real-world brand consultancy. We help organizations at key moments like merger and acquisition moments strengthen, clarify the full potential of their brands and businesses. And I'm happy that you're with me today. So let's talk about Rollout. We spend a lot of time in this space and in all of the content that we create around M&A brand choices, discussing the migration path that leads up to a conversion of some sort, most likely, from the way that brands are managed today into that steady state. And that rollout process often, depending on the nature of the business, but almost all the time, has a lot to it. If you think about the full ways in which the touch points, the venues in which corporate identities are manifested internally and externally, all of the branded material, all of the physical and environmental spaces, all of the truck wraps, all of the product packaging, the website, the digital assets, the trade show booths, I could go on and on. There's so much to think about. And often the complexity of that dissuades folks from confidently managing brand integration and transition within M&A. I am here, though, to talk about what we will call a staggered rollout because, listen, I was the guy in college when I went back every year. All of my colleagues and classmates arrived and they threw down their bags and they emptied the trunk and they went right out to hang out with their friends and family. I was the guy who didn't want clutter. I wanted to put everything away. I wanted the dorm room to be ready before it was time to turn my attention to social life and other things. So I do not like disorder. And none of us like it as it relates to brand portfolios either and brand realities. Consistency is important to branding, but I am here to reassure you that not every switch needs to be flipped on day one post M&A. In fact, the marketplace, colleagues and customers and prospects understand and accept that some of these things take place gradually. And when it comes to rollout and brand conversion of all of these assets, it often makes financial and logistical sense to do it gradually for companies that have abundant physical assets, such as the sorts that I listed a minute or so ago. It is important to introduce the expectation of a staggered rollout internally and externally. And there are easy ways to do this. There are digital methods, emails via a website. There are physical methods of having sort of temporary signage. You know, if you're a retail organization or a healthcare organization who has stores or hospitals or offices, you can use temporary easel signage to suggest, hey, this is happening. You're going to see it roll out over time. It's going to be really exciting to share it with you, et cetera. But whatever the tactic, the fact remains is that the marketplace has some degree of patience. Now, you may not as an executive because you want everything to be perfect, but I'm here to tell you that let's do perfection slowly, not over the weekend. Let's do it at a reasonable pace. And so our recommendation, and we often collaborate with clients to do this, is to build a rollout budget that sorts that full inventory of assets into different priority categories. And those priorities may be based on visibility. They may be based on changeover cost. They may be based on the simplicity of the migration. They may be based on sort of fixed financial expectations. But we build A, B, C, D, whatever the right number is, of categories of assets. And these get changed over at a different pace. It may be that category A is year one and B in year two, et cetera. It may be that simple or not. But either way, there is, across a staggered rollout, a way to manage budgets and also a way to choreograph the client and teammate experience so that once all of this is done and everything is working in concert with great consistency, we can celebrate, but we don't suffer anything in the transition. And again, the market is surprisingly patient. There are a range of assets that are lower cost, yet also highly visible. A lot of these are digital, social media communities, the website, the email signature, the Zoom background or Teams background. These are things that can come first because they don't cost much and there's not a ton of complexity in effectuating that transition. But if you're dealing with physical assets like hospitals or corporate offices or trucks or other sort of CapEx, not only are those financially challenging, that they also require significant production lead times and for a variety of different reasons, it makes sense to do those at an energetic and orderly pace, yet in a staggered way. So we are advocates in cases where it's necessary, and often it is, of staggered, purposeful, deliberate, but staggered rollouts as a way to manage budgets. And plus, as we said with day one, a window of time where communications are gradually transitioning often earns for us a longer moment of attention. If you were to do this all, flip that switch on day one, um, that's a whiz bang moment that everyone can celebrate and everyone can notice, but it also fades quickly. So doing this in a staggered way based on priorities preserves budget, may extend the window of newness and freshness, and also is something that the marketplace can understand and rally around without confusion. So that's M&A Minute for today. Thank you so much.